welcome to Bundy Bear's shed. Today we've got a bit of a project, or we'll start it at least today. It's an old Ritch hand pump. It's old, it's been on the floor of a shed sitting in the dirt for a long time at another bloke's shed, and hopefully we can get it going. We'll probably have to machine up a new piston in here. It looks like it's a bit sad, and hopefully we can get it going. We'll strip her all down, give it a good wash and get new hoses made, but we'll just pull the pump apart first, just go through whatever we need to do on the pump, and we should be able to pressure test from there, pop a gauge into the main pressure line, and it has a ram, a small ram too, which is double acting. You can flick the lever and get it pushing out or pulling back in. We probably won't use that. We're looking at doing this for a press. We have a large press frame at another place that we have, and the frame has a huge big ram on it and a pump off a old tip truck, a tipping body gravel truck off the hoist. And I've had the ram apart. It doesn't look too bad, but it's got cast iron rings in it, and with cast iron rings, the type of ring in it has a gap in the ring, and with the gap in the ring, if you'd like to pump the press up and hold a bit of pressure on something while you heat it, or well, it just won't do it. Yeah, the leak back won't hold the pressure. So I've decided to have a look for another cylinder. We probably have a few here. I have an old burnt John Deere 6400 outside, and they have a lift ram, a single acting displacement lift ram that's 80 millimetres. And so if this pump, from what I've read, should put out 10,000 pounds per square inch on an 80 millimetre bore, that should give us quite a bit of pushing power. And so we'll start off with doing the pump up, and we'll strip it down. I think it was originally, it's a Ritch brand pump, and I think it was originally part of a panel beaters kit, where they could push or pull and straighten chassis and panels and things like that. So we'll do the pump first and just see how that goes, and we'll do a bit of a video on how we go with it. This is a close-up of the hand pump that we're going to have a look at restoring. We can go to town and buy another one, buy a brand new one if we'd like, but yeah, I like doing up old things, and it's all part of the fun. Now that's the lever. This lever here, in the casting there, I think you can see power in and power out, and we'll get rid of these old hoses. They've actually, well, if I can get a picture of that, one's actually broken off, it's that old. So anyway, we'll go and tidy it up, and we'll have a bit of a look and see what we can do with it. I've just screwed the canister off on the hand pump, on the Ritch hand pump, and I don't know what to expect now. There's been water dripping out of it. Doesn't look all that flashy in there, does it really? But anyway, look, we'll pull her apart and give her a bath, and yeah, see what we come up with. Well, I've just gone out and pressure cleaned the hand pump here, the little Ritch power hand pump. I don't know if you can... No, it's a little bit shiny, isn't it? So we won't worry. The one thing I found while I was while I was just washing it, was this main relief valve's loose. So it may well have been that when they put this out of service, it may have been losing pressure, and it would leak out past the threads on the relief valve. If we had another porta power here at the moment, we could actually hand pump the relief valve up and see what pressure it was set on. But actually that doesn't look like it's coming out. It must come out from the other end. I thought it was loose there, but It may just have an O-ring seal, so we'll have to look into that further. There's a few check valves on the top here. We'll just pop them out and have a look. Bit of water there. That's a little check valve. Bit grubby. We'll see if we can put a new ball on there. It's quite rough around the edges from the moisture that's been in it. This one here, here's the ball out of this. Is just a check valve, hasn't got a spring on it. And if you just bear with me, I'll go and get a magnet and we'll try and get this other ball out. No, it looks like we'll have to blow them out with air in a little while. We'll have to put the screw back in, yeah, just so the ball doesn't become a missile and do some damage. Now, you might get some snap ring pliers and undo the two circlips. Doesn't look too bad. That pin looks okay as well. Now, to get the main plunger out, looks like we might need to make a spanner up. It's been punched shut before. You can see a little bird just here. Well, we might try that ourselves. And on this plunger here, on the tap, there's a small solid pin going through there. Looks fatter on this side. There's a possibility it's a tapered pin. Alright, we'll just shoot off and we'll go and get a hammer and a punch, and yeah, we'll just see what we get up to with that. Well, I couldn't find my starting punch, the small starting punch, so we'll just have a go. That looks quite loose. That's quite easy. Still a little bit tight for that. have to do a bit of research for that one. I'll just loosen this up in the vise and I'll be back in a second. Okay, I've got the nut undone. I didn't make up a spanner to get it out because I'm not sure I can save the pump yet. But we'll just see. Looks like it has a gland packing, which is a good thing. It'd have to have some sort of sealing capabilities. And the shaft, well, we'll just have to see. It's a hollow shaft. We'll see how it polishes up. There's no deep pitting. But we'll have a look when we polish it and see what we need. Now I don't know, can you see that? Yep, there's a little square in there. So that's the end of the relief valve. And it has an O-ring that seals up inside here, so the internal bore is actually, well, the condition of the internal bore is quite important, as there's an O-ring that sits on there, so we'll have to have a good look at that. I'm thinking with a square there, I'm thinking something will undo here, which will let the relief valve come out the back. I'll have a look and I'll get back to you in a minute. I've just had a bit of a fiddle with this shaft here, and all that was holding it in was the packing in these washers. It's an eccentric, and that must open or close. One valve here I would suggest for fast lift, and the other one for slow lift. So they're not quite opposite each other because they only work in a 90-degree arc. So one has a centre line here and the other one through here. But one thing I am noticing with this pump is that even though there was water in the oil reservoir, inside is looking pretty good. And that's certainly a usable part. There's a small screw up the end of the relief valve here, and you can see screwdriver marks on it, so we'll just see if it's tight. Not very tight at all. Well, we'll try and work out what setting it was on. We'll count turns in first. Half, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5, 5, 5.5, 6. So it's 6 turns to coil bound, so that way we can undo it and know, well, we can put it back to the exact setting it was on for pressure tests, and it looks like to be a little bit more adjustment to increase the pressure from where it was. And this screw's been quite loose, so we don't know what pressure it's on. We will do a test and see if we can get it all working. bit more water coming out. There's a shim on one end of the spring. And there's a little ball. Even though water came out of that valve, the ball's not rusty in the seat. Right, now to work on this piece. Well, I've had a bit of a fiddle with trying to get this out, and what works out is that there's a bit of a square in the end here. It's not a, well, the socket doesn't fit it very well, but anyway, that's good enough for it to come out. And that screws in there like that. Now that was loose. I imagine on the housings, here and inside, there's a shoulder right up the other end there. So I imagine with that shoulder being there, this should have been up tight. So I believe that some of the oil pressure would be disappearing up there. Those hexes, or the square that I'd used, has been put in there by a grinder. So someone must have had a little bit of trouble one time before, but that's what they chose to do to get it out. I was wondering why the socket wouldn't go on nice and evenly, and why someone would machine something that wasn't quite square. But anyway, all has been revealed. Now I believe that's all we need to do to strip it down. We'll give it a good clean up now. We'll take it over to the parts washer and we'll pressure clean it and blow it dry, and we'll make sure all the seats and the check valves and all are good. And make sure we haven't got to lap any valves in. And then we'll have to go through like all of these little ball bearings. They're just too rusty to use. The springs still seem serviceable, at this stage at least. The main lift valve is serviceable. The main pump piston there'll be an O-ring, I believe. No? Always buy pink O-ring picks, no one ever pinches them on you. No, there's nothing in the housing there, so it must just rely on the pressure of this gland packing to seal the pressure back in the pressure chamber and to stop the oil coming out the handle. So it'll be important to check inside here, and we'll give this a good polish and see if it's workable. If it's not, we might have to get going and make a new one. Anyway, we'll just have a look for the moment. We'll wash everything up, do an evaluation of what we need, see what we have in the shed here. I know we have a kit of bearings in at the shop, so I'll suggest I'll be buying all new ones for that, and for the moment we'll just clean everything up and go shopping for some parts. Well, we've got back onto the Ritch hydraulic pump, or the little hand pump. Through the week we went and bought some ball bearings for all all the check valves within the pump here. The copper washers are getting replaced. We have a handful of those fellas to put in. I've already got the main relief valve in and the screws up the back and adjusted up. I've made it a little bit tighter than where it was, but we'll just chug along with it and put a few check valves in and put the main plunger in and do a few little jobs like that. Well, this morning we've done a bit on the Ritch pump. We've put the new balls in all the check valves here. There's little push rods that go under the check valves, so when you lift this, it lifts the ball off the seat. So we've got all those fellas in with new stainless steel ball bearings, new copper washers under the retaining caps. I've put the plunger in, a new O-ring inside the plunger. We've tightened the nut up. We just need to put a bit of oil on. Put a bit of oil on the pins and we'll slide it in. Yeah, well, I think if we put a little E-clip on here. That should slide in there. A little oil on this other pin. This is an external circlip on, a snap ring. Oh geez, I can feel that doing me good. Alright, I'll tidy up the canister now and we'll come and put it back on and we'll see if we can make this little girl pump oil. Well, this morning we've had a bit of a play with the little Ritch pump. We've put all new ball bearings through the 3 sets of check valves here. There's one here, they're double ups here and here, and they seem to be sitting there okay. We've put the plunger in, cleaned the handle up, cleaned up the reservoir, made sure it was nice and clean inside and out. And where originally the pump had a return there coming off the ram, we've had to blank that off as that's a straight track back to the reservoir, which was for if the other ram had some internal leakage, it would bleed back through here. And we've set the main pressure line up on a gauge up to our Parker electronic gauge here, and the gauge is good for 5,800 pound and it seems to pump okay. We seem to have a little bit of pressure there. With the handle right up like this, that's fast pump. You can't get the power that you would like, but it's a fast transverse for any hydraulic cylinder you have at the other end. Then right over here, that's power lift. So our fast lift, power lift, and over here, that's dump. That's return. So to do your fast lift, we have him up here, and power lift back over there once again. So we have it set up in the. We've put oil in it. We have it set up on the bench here, and I'll try and hone in on the gauge itself just so you can see what pressure we make. I have had a play before I've gone back to camera, and a couple of the check valves are leaking a bit. It's pumping good pressure, but it's not holding it. So yeah, our options, I have a few options about that, but I'll show you this on the gauge first and we'll go for it. Looks like you can see that okay. And I've got that set so you can see the gauge over here, and you can probably see where I have the handle over here. So first up, we'll just go to fast lift, which is a straight up and down position. We'll have a bit of a pump and see what we can get to. So you'll notice the pressure dropping back. It should actually hold a little bit better than that. I've just got a bit of weight on the handle there now. So one of the check valves is leaking back a bit, but our maximum pressure was 3,930 pounds per square inch. That's in fast lift. So we'll drop him back a little bit. Then we'll take the handle over to maximum pressure. And the lever's far easier to pump now. And at that pressure there, you can just hear that's our gauge limit. We can't go any further. But so it's putting the pressure up all right. I could hear the relief go in there. We'll just zero it again. And we'll go on maximum pressure. And we'll leave it at that, but that's not hard to get up there. It should hold, it's not holding. And when we talk about holding, a couple of these check valves, they have new balls there, but the seats must have tiny little marks on them. They didn't look too bad, but the options that we have here now, pop the balls out. I did buy a couple of spare balls in case we had something like this going on. And you can sit the ball in the seat and get a punch and punch the ball onto the seat to try and form the seat a little bit better, and then throw that ball away and get a new one for the check valve. Or you can get a ball, if I can just pick one up, you can get a ball, braze, little handle on it, and you can put some lapping paste on and lap it in. So I'll deal with that a bit later on, but all in all it seems to be pumping okay, and it still feels a bit cushiony. I wouldn't mind betting there's still a little bit of air in there. I've run it a few times and back and forth to try and bleed the system, but it is a bit spongy on the lever. But anyway, I think it's certainly good enough to run a little press. And if we can't get the check valves to seal properly, there's always the option of dropping a little ball valve in here. Once you pump your pressure up, you can just lock it off and that will lock your cylinder. But anyway, we'll have a bit of a look at that as we get closer to having the press ready. Well, there you go. We're going to call that a wrap for this video. The pump that had been sitting around the floor for many years, it's come good. It's doing a fair job. There's a few little things, little touch-ups I'll need to do yet. One of them's put a copper washer behind this valve here, behind the dipstick, I'm sorry, on the reservoir. I'll possibly look at the check valves, but not for the moment. We'll do that a little bit later down the track. And with the hose coming out here, we'll put some separate fittings out here that for the pressure it's doing, we'll have to get some good hoses made, some proper hoses crimped up at NZ in town, and well, we'll see what pressure they can offer us, and probably if it was a £10,000 we'd opt for that. And it's come up all right for something that's actually sat on the floor of a shed for so long. The handle can be tidied up a bit yet, and I won't paint it just at the moment. I'll wait until I paint the press, and I'll probably paint them together and keep the same colour, and we'll call it a wrap from there. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. This is our second one. There's a few things I've learned along the way for sure. But yeah, look, please subscribe to our channel and hit like if you like the video, but subscribe and share it and get it around there, and we're going to try and grow our channel for a little while, and yeah, hopefully we all meet a few people with similar interests and we'll have a bit of fun along the way with it. Anyway, I'll catch you all later.